Before I start this video, I want to go ahead and wish all the veterans out there a happy Veterans Day. I have both my parents and my brother who serve, and there's a respect for those who are willing to set their lives, their politics, and all that aside to put their lives on the line to protect the freedom of everyone else, and do so with a sense of just selflessness, and willing to serve. And I appreciate that. So again, happy Veterans Day to all out there. Now, in this video, I'm going to go over what to do if you have an app that's forced closing. So, a lot of my tutorials, for those of you who are just tuning in, I try to gear my tutorials to those who are just brand new to Android or to smartphones in general. So, a lot of the stuff that I may be covering, you may very well already know, but I am going to go back to the basics because I do not want to take into account or just assume that someone watching this video know a lot about Android. I'm doing the opposite. I'm treating this like this is the first time or you picked up this phone. Like I will explain this to my grandmother or my parents or someone who is just new to smartphones and needs someone to slow down and walk them through everything. So force closing. Now there are several reasons why an app can be force closing. Reason number one, and in particular you're going to see in this app right here, it could be because Android just got updated to a new software. And as a result, either the developers or somewhere there did not include the new update or develop that into their new app or into their old app to facilitate that. And as a result, you see it just conflicting or just force closing. Another reason could be a poorly developed app. Now, you'll a lot of times get a feeling of what's going on with that by looking at the App Store and looking at the reviews. So I know for me, and I'm going to walk you through that, before I even download an app, and give me a second to turn my phone on, but before I even download an app, the first thing I personally like to do is I will go into the App Store and I will look at the reviews. If I see a bunch of poor reviews, I'm not going to download the app because for me, you know, there's something wrong with it or there's a something going on with it. Now, keep in mind there are times where people will just out of nowhere start, negative reviewing an app, whether it be because they do not like a certain move that a phone developer or something just did. So I will also look at the reviews and I will see the last couple of reviews. So here's an example. Let's just say I want to download this app right here. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is before I even install it, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look at the reviews. I'm going to go through each one of them. Now, after seeing this, I'm going to hit see all reviews and I'm either going to leave it at most relevant and again read through the reviews and see if there are any negatives with it, reviews. And the next thing I'm going to do is change it from most relevant to most recent. Hit apply. And the reason for that is, again, if there was a new update or something that just came through, a lot of times, especially if we see reviews that are recent and they're saying, hey, ever since you updated your app, we've been having problems with this, this, and this, and this. And if I read through a bunch of reviews that saying that, then I may be cautious with downloading that app. So this is something I would recommend doing before you install an app. So let's go ahead and walk through what to do if you have an app that's force closing. So let me go ahead and swipe away all of my notifications. So for me, here's the app that I've been having problems with. And it's been the YouTube, and I may not have it on here. I actually do not have it on this phone. So let me go ahead and install it. I thought I did. So give me a second to, matter of fact, this would be a good time for me to walk you through it. So let me go ahead and swipe back real quick and let's do YouTube Studio. So YouTube Studio. Here it is. Now, talking about looking at reviews. So here you go. Boom, look at this. You start seeing negative reviews. Now let's go ahead and see why these people are complaining about it. And notice it's recent. So let's go to see our reviews. Most relevant. Let's go ahead to switch into most recent, apply. And there you go. YouTube Studio completely broken with the Android 12 update. And I've been having the same issue. So this is a good one. So let me go ahead and install this. Now, again, I normally would tell you not to install this because, again, why would you install a broken app? But I want to walk you through it. So let's go ahead and install it. And I'm going to show you what people are complaining about. So let me go ahead and hit. Let's get started. Let me switch to. All right, so here is the YouTube Studio. When you refresh, yeah, it's actually working on this one. So let me show you on my Pixel 6 Pro because it's actually broken on a Pro. And it may be a situation where it may be a Pro issue. So here, when you hit refresh, it crashes. So if your app does that a lot of times, it's because something may be wrong. So since I am having a problem on a Pixel 6, let's walk you through it. So the first thing I'm going to do, if I'm having issues, the simplest thing to do, the easiest thing to do out of the gate is, first of all, if you just installed it, then I'll probably go ahead and uninstall it and try reinstalling it again. Because again, if it's something weird like that, sometimes it'll go away with a fresh install. Now, if you had the app on there for a while and you don't know that it's that app that's causing, or you think it could be something else going on, like something that very similar to, I want to say in my last video when I first was trying to get YouTube Music to open up and Google Play and it wouldn't, and it just kept crashing. So the first thing I would do is I will go ahead and do a restart. So let's go ahead and go through a restart. So I'll go ahead and restart the device. And a lot of times, restarting your device will solve, I don't say all the issues, but it will solve several issues. Now, if after the restart that does not work, we'll walk you through what we'll do next. So, wait for the logo. So let's go back into this app. Let's see if we still have this problem. So hit refresh, boom, it solved it. Now let's just say, for example, you go through that and it did not solve the problem. So the next step we will do, so let me go ahead and close this one. Open up the Pixel 3 XL real quick. So you go to try to do that. This does not solve the app. The next thing you would do, if you have not done so already, like I said, is uninstall the app and reinstall it. So there are two ways you can uninstall the app. You can either go to settings. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me swipe away to go to settings. You can go to apps. And you can go to see all apps. And then you can find your app and uninstall it. So let's go to YouTube Studio right here. And you can uninstall it there. But there's an easier way you can do that. Because again, that's a lot of steps. Here's a faster way we can do it. You can go scroll down to the bottom or to the app drawer. Click, and like you would drag it to add it to the home screen. You will go all the way up here to uninstall. And you can uninstall it that way. That'll be a faster way to uninstall the app. So what I would do would be uninstall the app, hit OK, and then after it has uninstalled, I will go back to the Play Store. Just go back to the Play Store, look for YouTube Studio, and I'll go ahead and hit reinstall. Done. Now, there's one other thing you can do as well. This is more, as I would say, I don't say advanced. That's the wrong word, but it is a way to kind of simulate doing an uninstall and reinstall without having to do that. And you will see a lot of people will just do this step instead of uninstalling. But another way you can do kind of similar or same thing is click and hold, go to app info, and it's going to bring you the uninstall menu, force close, the same way you would originally go about going through settings about phone and find it there. But from there, you're going to see storage and cache. If you click on that, you can clear cache and clear storage. And this would delete all data. This would be pretty much just like uninstalling and reinstalling. So if you do not want to go through the uninstall and reinstall process, this is a very similar way of doing the exact same thing. Now, again, the reason why I showed the uninstall and reinstall is because for a lot of people, that's just, faster way or just a simpler way to do it. But, if you don't want to go through the step, you want to go just do this way, that would be another way of doing it. Now that you've done that, we go ahead and open the app. And then it'll be just like you put it new on your phone. So let me go through the menu, get started, scroll, settings, and let's see if I still have the same problem. Problem solved. So hopefully this helped you out, because I know for several people, especially if you're new to Android, you start installing apps and you run into this problem, and it can seem very, very frustrating if you don't have a solution to that. Now, again, there are several reasons why this can happen. Like I said, one reason, like I said from the beginning, is it could be on the newest Android software, and you have to wait for it to update. A good example of this a lot of times would be with apps that are like older apps, and you're just waiting for the developer to do what they need to do to add these software updates to make things a little better. Now, so Google sometimes will try to go in there and fix their software in a way where even with older apps that have not been updated because developers have chosen not to, it will not interfere with the usage of your phones. But unfortunately, with a lot of apps in the Play Store, you are going to encounter an app that just misbehaves. And again, it could be because the developer, just haven't been updated. And before you get, want to go in there and thumbs down and, bash the developer, you got to think about this. Not all of the developers or app developers are from major studios. In fact, there are a large number of Google app developers that started out in their garage and still are doing out of their garage. With Android 10 years ago, with Droid, came onto the scene, there were a lot of backyard developers that, came out into the open and they started developing on Android. And a lot of those developers were doing it for free. The reason why, because for those that did try to collect money, they was kind of shunned by the community. And part of the reason was because they was trying to make money off of what is considered custom ROMs. Now, we're not going to go over what a custom ROM is because, for a lot of you who tuned into the video, you're not interested in that. So, but they was trying to do that. Now, some of those developers took that skill and translated it into making apps. So they started making apps. You started seeing them come into the Play Store, and now that they're on the Play Store, the problem with something like an app, let's be honest, on the Android side, because we're so used to seeing so many free apps, when you see a developer come in and make an app that charges you, you go, oh, you're going to charge me for it? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go find a free version of the app that does the exact same thing. Because again, let's be honest, we trying to save money too. So as a result, a lot of your small Android developers, they may have been doing this for free. Well, if they're not making anything off of it, I can understand why it would be tough for them to continue on. Especially when, when they originally developed this, they may have been in college, they had the free time, they did it for fun, but now they have a family, they got bills, they got responsibility, and they just don't have time to continue keeping that up. And again, because they are not able to make money off that app, at least not enough to sustain and continue on. They're like, all right, you know what, I'm done with it, and whatever happens, happens. Now, a lot of those developers will sometimes put a note and say, look, I'm no longer going to be updating this app, and whatever, so on and so on. So that is a reason why you may see some apps where it's on a Play Store, it was developed a while ago, it's technically can still be usable, but it looks like it hasn't been updated in a long time. So that's something you got to look at too. So before you go in there and want to bash the developers, it could have been a young developer that was in college and now that moved on and they just not want to keep up with it. But there are still some people who are like, hey, don't remove it from the Play Store because it's still useful. You know, they're a good example of that. There are some apps on here that I find like very, very useful. Example is like if you just want a basic app for just keeping up with your workout journal. You know, you don't want to have to go in there and sign in and put all your credentials and, you know, put all your information in there. You just want an app that all you do is put in your sets, your reps, and move on. So you want something simple. So a lot of times you'll find that a lot of your older apps do that. It's not going to ask you about your information. All it's going to do is be simple. It's meant for you to do simplistic stuff. So, you know, for those apps, that is why some people would say, hey, you know what, let's leave those on the Play Store. Even though I know they haven't been updated, I really don't need it to be updated. As long as it continue to do what I needed to do, which is allow me to put my information, which is my sets, my reps, and all that stuff, and it does that fine. Who cares if it gets updated? So that is something to think about as well before you go and want to bash through the developers. Another thing you got to think about too as well is that depending on the software that's going on and, you know, who they developing for, Android, unlike iPhone or iOS, you have to take into account a bunch of phones. With iOS, the moment there's an update, a lot of the iPhones and the iPads are updated to the same software. That is not the case with Android. The Pixel is going to be the first phone to get updated. But some of your Samsung phones will be a little bit later. Now, for some people may say, hey, you know what? Why don't my Samsung phone update as fast? And to be honest with you, for me, that is personally one of the reasons why I choose Pixels over Samsung, because I want the latest and greatest. But the flip side to being first to the latest and greatest is if there are bugs, there are issues, there are a situation where a certain app is not responding well or behaving well on a brand new software update, well, the people that are first are going to be the first ones to feel it. And so basically, you can say people who are on Pixels are basically, I can say glorified beta testers, but they're the first ones to it. If there are any issues, Samsung and all the other manufacturers can look at that and say, okay, these are the issues people are having. I'll go ahead and make some tweaks of my own to fix that on our end and on the back end. Or we'll just wait for Google to fix those issues. And after they fix it with the update, we'll build on top of that. So that is another issue to think about. And then you can also look at, again, Samsung. There's a lot of apps that they build and develop that has to work with the latest update. So they take a little extra time to develop and make sure their stuff works. And then obviously you gotta look at the final part where with Samsung, they're not wanting to kick out a new update until they release a new phone, because that would be like a selling point for one of their newest phones. So again, you know, I kind of went overboard in explaining this, but hopefully this helps you guys out, especially if you're new to Android, understand pretty much the nuance of what's going on in the Play Store. Now, like I said again, the Play Store, like the let's say the Apple Store or iOS Store, whatever they call it, there are some apps in there that are really, really good. But I'll admit there are some apps that are better developed on the iPhone version. That said, if you're coming from the iPhone, you're feeling like, oh, just because I'm coming to Android, I'm going to get some poorly made apps or some garbage apps. Don't feel that way, because there are a lot of good apps on the Android market, Android store, and it's come a long way. I call it Android Store, but Google Play Store. They've come a very long way from when it was called the Android market, and you know, when it was the hodgepodge and all of the what they call it, the wild wild west. You know, when we had apps that were not the ESPN, but a bootleg version that gave us the best that we can count on, or the closest that we can expect. But now, it's gotten much better. Google have done a better job cleaning things up. Real quick, as I forgot to add this one last part. If you are wanting a Nexus 6 case, hit me up in the comment section. Now, let me follow this up because I saw several people in past videos hit me up in the comment section. Now, I'm going to reply to your comment with the email address to reply to me. The reason why I'm doing that is, again, I want to protect your information. I don't want to ask you personal information like your email address or where to ship this out in the comment section, as I want to respect your privacy. So, again, leave a comment below saying, hey, do you have any more Nexus cases? Or let me, not Nexus, I said Nexus, but Pixel 6 cases. Hit me up. I will leave a comment on a way that you can contact me so I can verify who you are and I can get a address I can mail this out. Now, real quick, most importantly, please make sure they're in the inner 48. If you're not in the inner 48, I apologize, but again, I'm giving them away for free, so I'm really not going to want to spend the extra to have to go through dealing with customs. So, anyway, if you're interested, hit me up below in the comment section. Again, I will reply to your comment on how you can, reply to me with your information so I can ship this out to you. Anyway, this is the Next Up YouTube. Have a good week. And again, happy Veterans Day to all those who serve. I'm out.